What's up guys, it's James Dymond here, and yes, I've finally getting this out to you guys. This is my first FL Studio project view with voiceover and explanation. I'm very sorry it's taken so long to get this out. I've had some technical difficulties trying to work out how to record the system audio and the microphone recording as well. But I'm glad I worked it out with some thanks to a couple of people and able to bring this out. So the main reason I'm also doing this is just to say a big thank you to all of my followers. I recently reached 30,000 fans on my Facebook fan page. So that's a big thanks to everyone who follows me on there, likes my music, buys my music, come to my live gigs and gives me general support all around. That's a really big thanks, and hopefully this is a nice little present to yourself just to get a bit of an insight into exactly what I'm doing in my productions. So the track we're going to be looking at today is my original track. It's called Siren Song, which was recently released on Who's Afraid of 138 Recordings, and was also chosen for Armin van Buuren's A State of Trance 2014 CD compilation that was released earlier on in this year on Armada. So I'm basically going to go through and show you kind of channel and the different sounds, what's on the different mixer channels, the plugins, and the EQ and the different sounds themselves. So if we start off, what I do whenever I start off any of my tracks is with the kick, and I'll show you what it's like without any processing on, and then I'll show you what it's like with the processing that I've done. So this is it without any processing. So it's a pretty nice sample already. It's got some nice low end, a nice attack to it. I've added a compressor to basically give some punch and to round off the bottom end. And then I've added some EQ just to bring it out a little bit more. A couple of dB boosts down the bottom end just to give it that nice low drive. Dropped out some of the area down here, about 200 hertz, gets rid of the kind of woolliness. Dropped out some of the mids to let the bottom ends kind of breathe through, and given it some high end for the attack. The next thing I always do is the sub bass, so let's have a listen to that. And the MIDI for this is pretty standard, just quite a bit of a rolling MIDI. There's quite a bit of processing on this. This is how it sounds without anything on. So it's actually quite a kind of psytrancey type mid bass, which I've then used as the sub bass itself. So first thing that I've done is add some EQ, and that just basically dropping out the high end and boosting the low frequencies of the note itself. And then I've added Waves R bass, which is really good, just gives it a massive boost on the low end. And then added the LFO tool for some sidechain compression or ducking. After I've done the sub bass, I always kind of go and move on to the mid bass. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different mid basses in this, and they're all kind of doing different patterns. The reason for doing that is it just kind of mixes it up, lets some sounds breathe through more than others, and kind of gives a bit more movement and flow to the sounds itself. So let's have a listen through and see what they sound like. And they've all probably pretty much got pretty standard EQ on, not much going on, a bit of low end cut, a bit of high end added on some, again more low end cut. On this one I've used a stereo shaper, which just basically pushes it out to the sides, gives it a bit more width. Of all of them all together. Pretty good uplifting trance bass line. So next thing I do is move on to the percussion. there's not that much going on here. There's about 7 or 8 different parts. I'll just run through these. You've got your hi-hat, bit of EQ on there, taking out a lot of the low end. You've got your clap, which has got some compression, some EQ. Some closed hi-hats, some loops. And with my loops, I generally try to keep them quite mid-rangey. If they do have any high end on it, then I'll probably take it out to let the hi-hats breathe through on this kind of 5 kilohertz plus area, as that's where they're going to be the main areas of where they are. Got this quite cool percussion sounds that I did, and it's basically just a couple of percussion hits with some nice delay and reverb on, pretty simple, and then again a bit of EQ, and this kind of just drove the track along. We have some acid sounds. Which just, these are pretty standard, not much going on with them. As the track moves on, the plucks come in. Got these nice plucks playing. I'm pretty sure these are from Silenth. Pattern's probably not very intricate, pretty simple. EQ. Taking out the low end, adding a bit of mid. Again with this second one, so there's 2 going on. And they're added to a bus, which has got some delay, EQ and compression. Got a held string also going on. And some intro pads. Which is just some pretty standard MIDI. It's just, these kind of bits are just to kind of thicken up the sound on the intro and give it a bit more drive. There's also this nice intro arpeggiated sound. Again, just some EQ, cutting off the low end. All very simple. And then we come into the break. In the break, I've got quite a few different things going on. These are basically all pads and strings, so we'll have a look at those. Got some cellos, some other strings, some nice voices. Some really big analog sounding string pad type sound. And these ones are really thick, and then kind of doubled them up with a couple of extra kind of open saw pads. Nice little piano. Also got this ARP, which I think was used on the intro. If not, it's a very similar sounding ARP. Similar to a sort of EQ. And then we move on to the next part of the track, which is where the lead comes in. I get a lot of people asking about the leads and my tracks, so I thought I'd go over and show you what I've done for these. I won't give away everything, but I'll show a little bit. So I think in this one it's made up of about 4 leads. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're all pretty similar apart from this pluck at the end. And then they've just got some pretty simple kind of EQ. And some delay and reverb. There isn't really that much processing going on. The EQ, I always, don't do much on it, just cutting out the low end and giving it a little bit of boost on the high. I know a lot of people kind of tend to boost this up as 3 to 6 dB, but that really kind of makes it quite tinny and doesn't give it that nice full sound that you want. And behind the leads, I've also got this pad playing. This is just the same MIDI as what was going on in the breakdown, but it's just kind of put over the back of the leads just to thicken it up a little bit. And again here I've brought back the percussion sounds with the reverb, just for a little bit extra kind of thickness and drive to it. And then we just have the outro drop, which is just exactly the same as what's been happening before, dropping out the percussion and then using the automation on the filters of the synths themselves to bring them down to give them that nice plucky sound. So there you go, that is pretty much it. So I hope you can see from that, it's quite a big project, but it's not one of my biggest. All the EQ is pretty simple. There's no kind of special techniques and things like that. It's just getting all the EQ right. Everything's sitting in their own space. Taking out the low end on sounds that don't need to have low end. So really only the kind of bass lines and the kick should have anything down that area, unless you're specifically trying to get a certain effect. Things like leads and plucks and percussion, dropping out all the low end, then just giving them a little bit of boost on the high and the mids for where they need it. Not massive amounts of EQ, always trying to stay away from that. So if you've got any further questions or any comments, or if you like it, don't hesitate to drop them in the comments section below, and I'll try and answer as many as possible. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this was useful. And just again, I'd like to say a big thanks to everyone for the 30,000 fans and followers, and everyone who follows my music, and like I say, come to all my live gigs. It's really great, it's awesome to see this amount of support. So it's a big thanks from me, and hopefully I'll see you soon.